all, welcome to Prabhan's channel. So in this video, let's discuss about frequently asked interview questions in power systems topic. So the first question is, what is generation, distribution and transmission? So basically a power system network consists of generation, transmission and distribution system. So in case of a generation system, a conversion of one form of energy into electrical energy is done. For example, consider a thermal power plant. There will be using coal as a fuel to generate steam. Now this steam will be moving on to the turbine, which will convert it into mechanical energy. Now this mechanical energy will move to the generator, and generator will convert the mechanical energy into electrical energy. So this is what is happening in case of a generation system. Now this electrical energy needs to be transported. Now this will happen in case of a transmission system. So transmission system will transport this energy to very long distance with very high amount of voltage magnitude. Then comes the distribution system. Distribution system is just to fulfill the demand of the customers at certified voltage level, and it is done in terms of the feeder. Next is single line diagram of a power system. So in some interviews, they'll ask you to draw the single line diagram. So this is the basic layout of a single line diagram. Now I'll just give an overview of the single line diagram. So first comes the generating station. So there only our electrical energy will be generated. So basically the generation voltage will be about 11 kilovolt. Basic generation voltage in case of a generating station will be about 11 kilovolt. And now this 11 kilovolt will be stepped up to 132 kilovolt over here, and with the use of transformers. Now this will form the primary transmission system. Okay, so this the electric power at 132 kilovolt is being transmitted by three-phase, three-wire overhead system to the outskirts of the city. So as I told you before, this forms the primary transmission. Okay, that is happening at 132 kilovolt, that is stepped up voltage. Now this primary transmission line will terminate at the receiving station. Okay, now this receiving station usually lies in the outskirts of the city. Now at the receiving station, the voltage will be reduced to 33 kilovolt by step down transformers. And this will happen in case of by three-phase, three-wire overhead systems. Now this forms the secondary transmission system. Then comes the primary distribution. The secondary transmission line terminates at the substation, that is over here. Now at the substation, the voltage is again reduced from 33 kilovolt to 11 kilovolt. That is shown over here. Okay. Now this forms the primary distribution system. Now this primary distribution system will generally be applicable to big consumers who are having demand more than 50 kilovolt and kilowatt, and they are further handling with their own substations. Okay. Next comes the secondary distribution. Now the electric power from the primary distribution line, that is 11 kilovolt, is delivered to the distribution substations as we told before. These substations are located near the consumer localities. Alright. Now in case of a secondary distribution, the voltage will be stepped down to 415. Now this 415 volt is the voltage between any two phases. Okay, and the voltage between any phase and neutral is 230 volt. Okay. Okay, so the next question is, write down the classification of transmission line. Okay, so this classification will be basically done on the basis of voltage and length of the conductor. So based on the voltage and length of the conductor, the classification is AC transmission line and DC transmission line. Under AC transmission line, we have three other classification, that is short transmission line, medium transmission line and long transmission line. Since I told you that it's done on the basis of voltage and length of the conductor, now for short transmission line, the length should be lesser than 80 kilometer. Let me write it over here. And the voltage for short transmission line should be lesser than 20 kilovolt. Okay, so in case of a medium transmission line, the length should be between 80 kilometer and 160 kilometer. and the voltage should be between 20 kilovolt to 100 kilovolt. Now in case of a long transmission line, the length should be greater than 160 kilometer. And the voltage should be greater than 100 kilovolt. These are the classification of a transmission line, overhead transmission line. Okay. So the next question is, what is importance of earthing? So there will be insulation failure at times, right? And then when the short circuit takes place, there needs to be a path of flow for the short circuit current. So earthing provides the easiest path of flow for short circuit current, and also it protects the persons and the apparatus from high voltage surges and lightning discharge. Next is, what is meant by a sag? Sag means it's a difference in level between the points of support and the lowest point on the conductor. Now just consider this figure. Here you can see the points of support. So these are the points of support and this is the conductor. So there is a gap between the points of support and the lowest level on the conductor. So this is called as sag, and the distance between the conductor and the ground is called as ground clearance. Next question is, what is corona? So whenever the potential difference between two conductors of the transmission line is greater than the critical disruptive voltage, corona occurs. And also corona causes power loss in the transmission line. Corona can also be visualized as phenomenon of violet glow, hissing noise and production of ozone gas. So the basic principle is the voltage should be greater than critical disruptive voltage. That is, so when this condition is satisfied, corona will occur. Okay. So the next question is, what is skin effect? Skin effect generally occurs in terms of AC. That means the alternating current will concentrate near the surface of the conductor. That is called a skin effect. So when this occurs, it increases the resistance. When resistance is increased, automatically voltage drop will reduce, voltage drop occurs, and then power loss increases and efficiency decreases. Next is, what is the material used for overhead transmission line? ACSR, that is aluminium conductor steel reinforced, are being employed for overhead transmission line because the mechanical strength is good due to the presence of steel, and it also reduces corona for voltage lesser than 220 kilovolt. Just remember these two keywords. Next is, what is the purpose of a fuse? So whenever a fault, that is like short circuit or overload occurs, the current flowing through the fuse will increase. Okay, so when this current increases beyond the rated value, it will raise the temperature and melt the fuse element. Hence, this fuse element will disconnect the circuit protected by it. So basically, fuse element will act as a protective device for the circuit connected to it. Next is, what is the difference between relay and circuit breaker? So basically, relay is a switching device which will give signal to the circuit breaker whenever a fault occurs, whereas circuit breaker will break the circuit automatically when it receives the signal from the relay. Next question is, what is the difference between electrical earthing and electrical grounding? So in case of electrical grounding, the current carrying path is connected to the ground, and also grounding will not have zero potential. In case of earthing, non-current carrying path is connected to the ground and earthing has zero potential. So this is the basic difference. Next question is, how many types of faults are there in three-phase power system? Single line to ground fault, line to line fault, double line to ground fault. So these three faults will come under unsymmetrical faults, also known as asymmetrical faults. The remaining two faults, that is three-phase short circuit fault, three-phase to ground fault, will come under symmetrical faults. So there will also be a question asked in power system like, what is the common type of fault which will occur in power system? When this question is asked, you have to answer it as single line to ground fault is the common type of fault. Just remember this. Next question is, what do you mean by zone of protection? So basically in a power system, there are many elements. So each of the element will be protected. Okay, so if any fault occurs, the relays associated with that particular element will trip all the circuit breakers and the faulty element will get removed from the power system. This is called a zone of protection. Next question is, what are internal and external faults? Internal faults will occur inside the zone of protection and external faults will occur outside the zone of protection. Next is, what is the use of bundle conductors? Bundle conductors are used for reducing corona whenever the voltage is greater than or equal to 220 kilovolt, and it also reduces the skin effect. So basically, when the voltage increases beyond 220 kilovolt, corona will be more dominant. So that is why we'll be using bundle conductors. So these are some of the important questions which will be asked in power system for interview. So let's discuss the similar questions in power systems and other remaining topics in the upcoming videos. Thank you for watching and subscribe to Prabhan's channel.